Good morning, everybody. We are back here at Paintball Fit with the Momz of Paintball, episode 3. Back from Tampa, and we're dust is settling, sort of. Yeah, so we're excited to be here and doing our live thing again. Lots to talk about today.
Yes.
Lots to talk about. So why don't we just kind of jump right into it? Tampa, the first NXL of the year. Exciting. What did you guys think?
So it was your first ever NXL. So what was Melissa's take on it all?
So I kind of expected like something grander.
Well, it's not Cup.
I know, but it's still like national level. And I think it might just be that we're spoiled in Texas. Like USXBL puts on a great regional tournament.
Right.
And that's the only thing I have to compare it to.
Right.
Was USXBL, XTPL, just the smaller things. So.
And the energy at USXBL is high.
It is.
It's really good. Yeah.
So I was impressed with the field layout. Like you go through all the vendors, it was wide open, there was room to move. I liked that. I just think I was not expecting there to be such a disconnect between the pro field and the divisional fields.
Okay.
Like I thought it was all going to be closer together.
Right.
So like if you're trying to watch the pros, but then you also want to watch the divisional games, it's hard to go back and forth.
Yeah, because they're so separated.
Yeah, so that's what I just expected, more of like all the paintballs in one area.
Right. Yeah.
Not so divided.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And Crystal wasn't there. But
I enjoyed my bed.
She was there in spirit though,
for sure.
Because she was definitely online and telling us where we
Keeping
needed
us
to
in
be
line.
at times.
Like,
So,
hello.
yeah,
y'all
so
got
you
to
can't.
be here.
She demonstrated being a paintball mom remotely, which you mastered that really
Stalking PBL leagues and then watching the feeds on YouTube and then on Major League Paintball Plus. I was stalking all kinds of
She was
videos all
dialed in.
over the place.
Yeah.
So if you're a new paintball mom and you're wondering how can you watch your kid play or how can you watch the pros play, there are apps you can go to. You can download one app, and it's the Major League Paintball app, and you can subscribe. I think it's like $20 a month. They don't show all of the divisional fields at every tournament, but when they make it to the finals, they do try to broadcast those. But it was also interesting because we were right by the airport.
Right.
They weren't able to do any drone footage.
Right.
Oh, really?
So did you notice when you were watching, they were just fixed cameras that were panning?
I did not notice it as I was watching it. Now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, they didn't have the
Yeah, they
overview.
didn't have-
And then like with the pros, usually they're overview and you could see like where
Right.
they at, and they had the little X's and O's or whatever.
Well, and that speaks to one of the pluses. Like one of the other things that I liked, and I think we all kind of agreed, is that the location was fantastic. Like literally, the field was like 10 minutes away from the airport.
I think it
Hotels
took
were all
us
there.
longer to actually get our baggage and get our rental car than it did to drive from the airport to our hotel. It was
So the
so close.
location is fabulous. Tons of hotels there, great restaurant options, lots of Airbnbs. So the location is, I really, really liked that. I
Yeah.
thought that was.
I wonder if they'll go back to Tampa.
Yeah, hard to say.
I liked it.
I heard Vegas was trying to make a big field per se, but I don't know.
I think one of the things we also agreed upon, and we've heard others on their podcast kind of talk about it too, is that for whatever reason, we weren't quite sure, there was a restriction on tents and canopies. So there was a lot of times where the teams were, when they were playing their divisionals and waiting to run their points, basically standing in the sun. And it got hot. It got warm. So that was a little tricky at times.
And it seemed like there was room for the tents.
Yeah,
Like there was
very
plenty
spacious.
of open room, but it's like you're a national level tournament and you have players hiding in the shade of a dumpster.
Yeah.
Like that
was
kind
us.
of looks sketchy. You
Yeah.
know, like I feel like we could do better.
Yeah.
If the regional tournaments can put up tents,
They can
Yeah.
provide the
tables,
tents
they
for
provide-
free. Yeah, so they
Exactly.
provide them for free.
which is why I say maybe we're just spoiled.
I
I don't
mean,
know
you-
how the other regions do it.
USXBL
but-
does spoil us.
We're
with
always
those
kinda
amazing
spoiled.
tents. Yeah,
Yeah,
those tents
right.
are fabulous. So.
And that's what I was thankful that we have. You know, we drag the wagon with the paint and all that stuff. So we did kind of have a work surface. But I know when my son went to Cup his very first year, he was with a different team.
Yeah.
They were literally sitting in the parking lot, potting out of the trunk of a vehicle
Right.
because
Yeah,
they
that's
weren't
crazy.
with a sponsored team
Right.
that had a pit area or
Yeah.
that had any equipment, and it's like you're flying,
Yeah.
so you don't have the tables
You don't
or
bring
whatever.
You don't bring
Yeah.
everything. It's
Exactly.
too much to bring.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
so,
we're kind of spoiled in that way because we do have a huge
Mhm.
like area that we can kind of set up.
It's like our
and-
home base.
Yeah,
sorta,
our-
yeah, which is it is nice. It is definitely a
Well, and
blessing.
that's another thing. Like, Fit is so fantastic to help us with the kids to
Yeah.
get them the equipment they need there, the gear there, but also like we don't want to take advantage of
No,
that.
no, no,
And
no.
they're playing at the same time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like we're trying to go over to the divisional fields and like what wagon can we use
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what
Yeah.
bag can we use because we don't want to do anything to hinder
Right. Yeah.
what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was surprised. by
And then
that.
I think again we've all talked about this too, and I think any of the youth parents would probably agree as well that the way that they scheduled our finals.
Or just the schedule
Or
and
just
all.
scheduling in
Scheduling
general.
and all.
Yeah.
I mean, Melissa talked about
Yeah.
it last time how the schedule didn't. I think it finally came out. Was it Thursday night?
I don't even know what day is today. So
I think it
I
was
don't
a
know. Maybe
Thursday.
I
it's
think
Thursday.
I think it came out finally on Thursday.
yeah, because we were at the airport when it came out.
Yeah.
And,
so it was
um,
Thursday.
And that makes it tricky because we were asked a question like, we don't know, are our kids playing on Saturday and Sunday? Like it was unclear. And then when, I'll speak for our team, when we knew our kids were going to the finals, we were initially told that the finals were going to be on Saturday the same day. And so we're like, oh no, sorry.
Sunday.
No,
On-
I apologize.
on Sunday.
Sunday. So we were like, oh great, okay, so we can put our stuff back.
Let the
kids,
kids run
go
wild,
kids
eat
can-
sugar, do
Yeah,
whatever. They're
which
done
they
for
got
the
to
day.
do that for a little while, and then all of a sudden,
Here comes the bearer of bad news.
finals were the same day.
We were like, hey guys, y'all do know, here's your final schedule. And when I first posted it, I didn't look at the date.
Yeah.
And I just posted it as like, hey, here's the schedule for finals. And I was like, and at first thought it said 5 p.m. And I was
Yeah.
thinking they were
Oh, they
flying
They were
were
out.
flying out Sunday
On
night.
Sunday. I was like, oh crap, like they're flying out Sunday
Right.
Mhm.
and it's at 5 p.m. Like,
It's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
And
my
then-
son was gonna be upset.
and then somebody was like, are we really playing today?
That
And
was
I was
me.
like,
That was
I
okay.
was like, wait, are we actually? This is today?
And so then I was like looking at it, I was like, oh, that does say today.
There was a
Like,
scramble.
yeah. So yeah, y'all had
Yeah.
to go get all the
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, luckily, I mean, we did have one kiddo on the team. He and his dad were ready to
They were packed up
go
and
visit
leaving.
the grandparents. Like they were packed up ready to leave. We're like, no, don't
Yeah.
leave. So
Stay.
you know, so that
And it's
kept us
because
on our
they're
toes.
trying to work them in onto the pro
Pro
field,
field.
Right.
which our kids obviously they want to play
Yeah.
on the pro field. Like they would not want to pass that
Right.
opportunity
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, yeah,
So I appreciate that they're trying to give the kids like a special experience.
totally. Yeah.
And to be
Yeah.
on,
But-
on the lights cast and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
It just kind of, you know,
It was.
put us on edge a little
I'm a
bit.
planner, and I don't do last minute.
She didn't have a list for that.
I did not have a checklist for going
Yeah.
into finals right away.
We
So,
managed though, and you know,
I was eating my dilly donuts, and I was like, wait a minute.
I gotta go.
so yeah. But I think all in all, it was a great.
Actually, it was really
tournament.
nice to get it over with that same day, I think, because then
Yeah.
Sunday people could kind of relax. You know, if you're heading to the airport afterwards, you're
Yeah.
not sweaty and gross from playing a game.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kids could watch the pro
Pros,
teams
right.
kind
Their pro
of slow
finals,
roll
yeah,
in.
yeah.
So it worked out. I just
worked
wish we
out.
had known.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
was there any like parent behavior or anything that stuck out?
oh, because we talked about that last time.
Last
how we
time,
need
yeah.
to behave ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I was made aware of that wasn't necessarily apparent, but was adult behavior in general. At our hotel, a lady had said, "Oh, you're with Fit." Some of the people in the stands got a little out of hand. And I don't know. I wasn't over there. Obviously, I was over.
She was
in the
VIP
I was
in it.
VIP for the weekend.
Living the luxury.
Just loving
Because
it.
my husband is high maintenance, y'all. It is me. So I don't know. I feel like Fit fans are well known, and that you made a good point. A lot of people kind of start heckling and feed off of that
I-
are not
yeah.
necessarily the Fit
Fit fans.
family.
yeah, they were
So-
definitely not. I don't think they were part of the Fit family, and it did get uncomfortable. And
Because you
yeah.
were sitting over there at one point.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, Yeah.
I don't care
So
for this.
just as adults in general, we need to remember, like, we don't want to be making degrading comments, racist comments,
Yeah.
anything like that is not appropriate and has
Yeah.
no place.
Well, and I
anywhere.
heard too, like they were making comments about the Dynasty's pod runners
Yeah.
and their children,
Yeah.
and so like
That's
Brittany,
not cool.
Brittany actually turned around and said, "Hey, that's a kid. Like we
Yeah.
don't need to be talking." And he's actually a really sweet kid. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need
Yeah.
to be talking about
Yeah.
them. Like
Why
that's a
would
no-go.
you be picking on
And-
pod
and-
runners to begin with?
And I think some of it is, you know, maybe alcohol
True.
induced.
And I think
and
there's some
they're
fans
just-
that get caught up in that
That energy.
that
Their
energy, and there's and a lot of people in the audience and stands did cross the line, and again, I'm not condoning it, but it's like, yeah, they get caught up in that energy, and it's like, whoa, okay, you know, we're not at an NFL football game here.
Right.
This is paintball. Come
Yeah.
on, you know, and there's, you know, you're going after a child,
Mhm.
which is not okay.
Yeah.
That's not
Never okay.
But I really don't think, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's the fit fans. I think they were just saying that
Oh, yeah.
because the fit fans are so, like, we come as
We
like
come.
a village.
Yeah.
Like people know we're there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's easier for like onesies and twosies of
Mhm.
other people that
Yeah.
aren't necessarily in
Right.
the village
Yeah. Yeah.
and that can say these things or do these things, because I know like the incident that happened out in the parking lot was actually a fit fan or person who was kind of
I didn't know there was an incident in
there
the
was
parking lot.
Okay.
So I'm lost
There-
here. If y'all are lost, I'm lost
First I
too.
heard of it too,
but
I'm not surprised.
It was so I guess the slur was towards the fit fan,
Oh,
and then
okay.
it kind of carried out to
Evolved from
to
there.
the parking lot, and yeah,
That's
and so I don't think it was actually the fit family that was doing it. It was just onesies and twosies
Yeah.
of random people getting
that's unfortunate.
caught up, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
And it is kind
They're
of that
the
mob
face.
mentality.
Yeah, they're
Once
the-
one
yeah.
person gets in, and they just feed off of
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you were upset or offended, please know that was not our intention.
No.
We weren't out there yelling people and
No,
Yeah.
it definitely rubbed us the wrong way
Yeah,
too, and got
I was-
uncomfortable, and I left. I'm like, no, I can't. I had a plane to catch, but still.
You're like, I'm outta here.
And it's time to go.
So were you able to see from the stands? Because I was really surprised. I
Yeah.
thought the pro field would have more viewing. So if you didn't, if you don't know, if you're brand new like I was, you can just walk up and watch from free.
Mhm.
There's like a little standing area. Then there's the VIP tent that goes basically from Dorito to Dorito. It stretches the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
field. And then you can pay to stand in the grandstands, to sit in the bleachers. But that was kind of positioned funny.
It was off to the corner of one side of the field, and so you really you had no clue what was going on. You had no idea what was going on this side of the field. You could only see this side of the field, and it was kind of on an angle. It was just, you know.
So
was
is it
just
different
tricky.
at Cup?
I was not at Cup,
I've
so I
never
don't
been,
know.
so I don't know. Like, is this
The
the way
Cup
the field
stands-
is every time, or
Well,
does
with
it depend on
Cup-
venue?
it does depend on venue. With Cup, you could even stand to watch.
There was
like
no
you
standing.
had to
You
either
had to pay
to
to get in.
grandstand or VIP.
Interesting.
But then again, I never went over there because I was
You were
watching the girls
divisional stuff.
Right.
and with the kids. So yeah, I think it's just different on how the fields are laid out
How they can lay it out.
for
Okay.
each.
I mean,
venue.
I'm grateful that they give options, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, for some people, VIP isn't an option. And so at least, you know, they do have a grandstand, and I think it was like $10 a day or $10 or $15 a day. So it's nice to be able to have that option.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, there was a little sort of a peekaboo place where you could stand, but everybody
But
and
it
their
was
dog was standing
packed in
there.
there.
And, you know, somebody like
Yeah.
me, like, I was
Mosh
like,
pit?
I can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like,
It
it was like being at a Pearl
Paintball
Jam.
mosh
It
pit.
was like being at a Pearl Jam concert.
Well, I
The
had
heckler's over there.
I had a good view. I don't know about y'all. I had the best view
But you
in the
didn't
house.
have a drone view.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. One of the things that we've also been talking about is, you know, and as parents and understanding this sport more and more each time we go to practice and every time we go to a tournament, is we find ourselves a lot of times now referring to the rule book.
Oh, Lord. I never thought I was going to know this rule book. the
And
way
you
I do.
guys, it's important, and I'm not suggesting like we need to memorize the rule book,
Thank
but
goodness.
when we do have questions like, well, wait, do we know that that's right?
Mm-hmm.
You have access to the NXL rulebook, and we
Online.
have referred to it quite quite a bit.
I think we have, because just this past year, we kind of had to be on our, P's and Q's and know
Yes.
like what we're doing and how we're doing it, and if it's with the rules, because our kids were having such success.
Right.
People were always constantly like, oh no, that's against the rules, that's against
Right.
the rules. And with us not knowing, like I had no idea like what's
Yeah.
in the rule book.
Yeah.
Like I had to be like, okay, well let me check this
Right.
and make sure.
Yeah.
And so there was an incident in the youth.
Yeah.
I think there was some confusion.
There was some
I think there was
confusion.
some confusion over the youth age change. As y'all know, it changed. As long as you are 15 on January 1, you can play the full tournament season.
Right.
But I think people only heard that part of the rule
And thought that
and didn't realize the divisional standing still applies.
Right.
So if you're playing youth, you can be ranked D4 and lower.
Right.
So there was an instance where a couple of teams had some D3 players on their youth roster because they thought the rules, I think what they thought
Yeah.
was the rule said, oh, if you're 15, you can play.
Right.
And
Right.
of course, you're paying a lot of money to travel to tournaments.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to
Yeah,
get your
yeah.
money's worth, but you
Yeah,
get
sure.
out there on the field and
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is understandable.
Right.
And then there was comments that that we had a pro player on the team,
This is good clarity.
which so and they were obviously talking about Hadley, like she's a women's pro player, but there's a difference between a women's pro player and a co-ed pro player. And the co-ed pro players, of course, their points are like crazy amount of points,
Right.
like thousands or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And with the WNXL, the league built the WNXL to help grow the sport for the women. And a lot of women, unfortunately, they can't continue to play paintball up to get to the pro sport,
Right.
because of they're having children or they got to stay home and
Whatever.
just do different things. And so they built that women's league, from what I know of, to help grow the sport and say, hey, this is,
Right.
give it easier for the women to play, to
Right.
continue to play.
Yeah.
But their points are D4 points.
Right.
They're not pro
No
points.
pro points. Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
they're considered pro, but they're not
Ranked.
Their points
ranked
don't
pros.
reflect
Yeah,
that.
their points
yeah.
don't reflect
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so when everybody was like, oh, well, y'all have a pro player, but no, she's D4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
On
fits in
paper,
that
she's,
D4.
she's a D4 player.
And,
yeah.
and in the women's pro, they can have beginners
Right.
in there. If a women's team decides that, hey, this player is good enough, but they just haven't played enough
to get the points.
to get the
stay.
points,
Yeah.
that
How long does it take in the men's division, co-ed division, to make pro? Like, how many years do you think it would take to earn enough points
I
to
guess
be
it
ranked
depends
pro?
on how much you
how
play.
much you play, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
always ways around to make
And
those
how long
points.
has Hadley been playing?
So this is technically her third season.
Third
so the
season.
first season was not really. She did not play a whole. We didn't do NXLs last year. Was her first NXL at all.
So
Yeah.
if a male youth started playing 3 years ago, hypothetically,
I mean,
they
could-
probably wouldn't be ranked pro.
No.
I mean,
at this point.
we have Cameron Blanco, who's with Jackpot, and he's semi-pro.
Semi-pro.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's
It-
a lot more that goes into
Yeah.
it than
Yeah,
just
but-
you're on a pro team, you're not ranked.
Yeah.
And it's just how much paintball you're playing,
Right.
and how, and you could play a lot of paintball and not win,
Yeah, true.
and not get
Not
that
earn
many
those points.
Right.
So you have to play a lot of paintball and
And
then
be good enough to
be
win.
winning
Yeah.
Yeah.
to get those points.
Well,
And
I
it's a little different for the women's because it's not, they're not really trying to, per se.
You know, I was
gain all that.
surprised that there wasn't more to do about the women's division at Tampa. Because I thought, and this is, again, I've never been, I don't know, I thought there would be like, hey, here's the pro field, here's the women's pro,
right.
and then here's like the divisional.
Well, so the
I
women,
didn't realize it was,
they're on with they put them with the semi-pros.
yeah.
So they're on the premier field. And then you also have
I just thought it was like
amateur.
same level as you're pro,
Yeah.
But I think it all goes back to the points and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
who like view wise.
Yeah.
So they have tons of co-ed pro teams. How many
Mhm.
teams? I don't even know how many teams there are. There's
16, 20? 20?
20. So there's 20 teams. So they obviously you need
one dedicated
field to
Yeah,
get
that's
all
true.
of that.
those games through.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And for the women, there's 10 women's pro teams,
Right.
and so then
So
it's
maybe
easier.
we suggest they have 2 pro fields, one for the men, one for the women, and the youth can fit in to the women's pro field for our finals and for
Well,
our
and I want to
schedule.
just sort of make a point here too, since we're talking about points and we're talking about divisions, we're talking about the rule book. It's, and I'm still getting my head around this a little bit too, but I trust our coaches and our sponsors, and I trust the process that they're in. But what I'm trying to say is that it is very important to be mindful of how points work. And everybody comes into paintball with with a different goal in mind. And obviously I think a lot of kids want to be pro, but there's a process. And I keep overhearing people talking about, you want to make sure you don't point out too quick. You don't want to go from a D5 player to a boom, now you're D3, because those are very different divisions.
Especially for youth, because you can play tons of youth games
Right.
and win, and point out very easily
Right.
from D5 to D4, and then maybe even D3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you're going from youth and then having to hop all the way over to D3, that's
Right.
a huge jump.
Huge jump.
And
And-
only gaining those points by playing
Right.
youth,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're expected to play
Yeah.
like
Those are two
high
different animals.
level paintball.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw the interview that Trenton did on the
That
Play
was
the
a-
Game
talked
it was
about
a
that.
great-
He really
I
addresses
love
that.
what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And I think you can clearly see that with the way that they are setting our children up
Yeah.
and their team.
Yeah.
And if you didn't see it, Trenton just said, it's really important that you learn how to work through the ranks. Like you
Yeah.
win at every level.
Yeah,
You learn-
don't
learn how to
skip
win
a
at each-
division.
Learn how to win.
You learn how to win at each division because
Right.
you learn something different
Right.
from each division, and
Yeah.
that just shows that growth.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, let me skip here and skip here and skip here.
Right,
Like it's
yeah.
all important.
Yeah.
It's all necessary.
And then he
Yeah.
also mentioned like how one person may win a moment, but
Right.
a team wins the
That was
tournament.
huge.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
that was
so,
really big.
like, for them to be like, well, y'all have a pro player on your team. For me, I'm like, all of these kids are equal.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did
Yeah.
not have one
Yeah.
superstar on our team.
Yeah,
We
sure.
can
Yeah.
be down one kid, and kind of like how Fit lost Colt.
Yeah.
And a
Right.
lot of people are like, oh, they're not going to do well. They're not going
Right.
to do well. They don't have Colt. But it's like,
Shout
You
out to
don't-
Jake for stepping in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
First pro
Wow.
tournament with the team.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like you have to build your team
Right.
to
And I think
drop
our
those
kids
egos.
recognize that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they aren't worried. Like, we're not going to have this person. Okay,
Yeah.
someone else can fill it. They're
Yeah.
confident in
Yeah.
their teammates,
And
they
they
And
know.
you
trust
can
each
see
other
where
in
it can
that.
be tempting for a kid and a parent. Like if you have a kiddo that's really playing well, I can understand the temptation to want to keep
Mhm.
pushing. But again, to Trenton's point, when he was, what show was that? Was
Play
that
the game.
Play the game.
Marcelo
Yeah,
and
it was
Tyler.
so good, and it resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, like you have to. It's so important to learn how to win at each division. And don't
Mhm.
push forward. Don't let your ego get in the way.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, you're probably going to do more harm than good. So
Mhm.
I'm really starting to learn the importance of that. And I will say, shout out to our kids, the fact that they have stayed together. They're on their second season now together, and they're so tight knit,
Mhm.
and they just
I
they
know
play
my
so
kid
well.
this week, him and a teammate were trash talking a cup. They're like, oh, we're going to do a 1v1 when we get back. And like, we're going to see. And my kid is like, oh, you're not going to beat me, whatever.
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, pick up your snapshot. Let's just do it virtual.
Yeah.
So they were
Virtual.
online, and my kid had won a couple points, and he was like, okay, now I'm going to tell you how to get dominance. Like, you're trying to gunfight, you need to just get dominance. And
Yeah.
he's like, so I walked him through a couple points, and then he was beating me, and he's like, I wasn't
Wow.
letting him beat
Yeah.
me. And he's
Yeah.
like, but Mom, that just makes our team better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they are always looking for ways to make
Yeah.
their team
Yeah.
better. And I'm not just saying this to, like, brag on my kid or anything, because I
Yeah.
know all of them do the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
not just like, oh, I want to always win the one-on-ones.
Right.
It's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's learn from this
Yeah.
and make each other better.
Well, and this is kind of segueing into, we can talk about this now, but I kind of feel like this is a topic for another podcast because I think we can talk about it for a while. But the kids learning how to be good teammates, right?
Right.
And I truly believe that our kids are really starting to understand that. It's taken a bit, but they also have incredible role models.
Yes.
The PB Fit boys. I mean, incredible role models.
Mhm.
And, our kids aren't allowed to deviate from that. And if there ever is, bad behavior being seen, it gets shut down real fast. So learning how to be good teammates, and
not even just like encouraging each other or whatever, but being in the pits of it, like,
Right.
and not doing the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I know we had kids that took turns running pods
Right.
for the pros, for the women,
Yeah.
for other teams. Like
Yeah.
they are helping.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not a free ride. They're
No.
not just
Yeah,
sitting
no.
back there in those tents.
And
eating
some of them
snacks and
gladly will
relaxing.
run. Others put their heels down, and we're working on it. I mean, it's a work in progress, but
I mean, even after tournaments that are hosted here, they're
Yeah.
helping move paint
Yeah.
and break down tables and
Yeah.
clean stuff up.
Yeah.
Like you have a job. You're part
You're
of
part
the
of it,
program.
Right.
and you help out just as they're, helping out. The pro guys don't have to be in the kids' pit
Yeah.
after they're done
Right.
playing. They can go hang
Yeah.
out at their Airbnb or hang out at the tents, but they
Yeah.
are there
But they're there
to
Yeah.
support. So
Yeah.
it's looked at like the kids are
supporting them
to be there to support them as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all a huge team effort, a huge family effort of just like getting everybody to a tournament.
And it
getting everybody
applies to
through a
all
tournament.
youth sports. I mean, it's
For sure.
and it's encouraging to see that our kids are starting to move into that direction. And like I said, it's a work in progress. Some of them, every once in a while, a parent has to come in and yank them aside and say, "Knock it off."
Yeah.
The other thing I also want to add too that I feel happens over time as a progression is that as parents, I find now that we kind of step back, like when two kids are arguing about something that happened on the field, a few years ago we were like wanted to hop in and go, "Don't talk to my kid that way." But now it's like, no, this is a part of them learning how to be good teammates and taking feedback and, and honestly, it takes a little weight off us too. 'Cause,
Well, I think before too, they didn't have the tools to properly
Right.
communicate it
totally, yeah.
when they were coming off the field, and it would just be like a all out, just like digging their heels,
Yeah.
going, and nothing was being accomplished.
Right.
But now they've been given those tools.
Right.
and
Yes,
been,
that's a good point.
Been shown, okay, this is how you come off the field. Yeah, our tempers are high or whatever, but this
Right.
is how we come off the field. This is how we talk about it. This
Right.
is take accountability for
Yeah.
what you did.
Yeah.
You don't just blame it on somebody else or
Right.
whatever. You take accountability. They'll take accountability,
Right.
and we figure out,
Right.
okay, that didn't work.
Right.
How do we get it to work?
And what an incredible, I keep coming back to life skills.
Life skills is what I was
Incredible
gonna
life
say.
skills that they're
Yeah,
learning.
Crazy life
And
skills.
also for us as parents, because like I said, like there were times where you want to like swoop in and save your kid, but it's like, well, let this figure itself out,
Let it play out.
And sometimes it doesn't get solved, right away, and sometimes the kids have to, go off to
They'll
school
figure
or
it
they,
out.
and they figure it out, and you have to trust that they, that they will figure it out. And again, it gets back to they see the role models doing that, right? They see the role models having heated conversations, but they're learning that like that's how the team works. That's how the accountability comes into play, and that's how they become better. And it's crazy to watch it.
And so much of youth sports really is about the life lessons.
Exactly.
Like it's not
Yeah.
about developing a pro paintballer or soccer or basketball or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think most youth sports
That's icing on the
parents
cake. Yeah.
are in it for the life skills.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're definitely seeing that
Yeah.
in our kids.
So
And
it-
it just makes them stronger as a team too.
Yeah.
Like when we allow them
Absolutely.
to figure it out on their own and kind of work their problems
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
their own,
Yeah.
it brings them up
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at trying to keep a team together
Yeah.
throughout the years, like they're gonna need to know each other and be comfortable
yeah.
with each other. And
Because
Yeah.
eventually they're kicking us out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell y'all. I'm already kicked out. I'm sorry to tell y'all. Y'all are kicked out. Y'all are going to be out.
my
They're
kid
gonna
has no money. I'm coming. If I'm paying, I'm coming.
I don't know. Some of these kids,
They do have some hustle. I
they
will
got
say
some,
that.
like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
But it's been great, and I'm so excited, you guys, because like we have just finished the first NXL of the year. We have 4 more to go.
4 more.
So it is. I'm so excited to see how they continue to evolve, how we continue to evolve as
Yeah.
parents.
I'm really
Um,
excited for the next event. Are y'all going? It's,
Yeah.
it's Atlantic City.
Yes,
You're
Yeah,
going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm going. So I'm interested to see, just get a little bit more perspective.
Yeah.
Like one venue versus another venue.
And how that
knowing how it
yeah.
goes.
It's
So-
kind of closer to the beach. I
Yeah.
can tell
It
you
is
that.
closer to the beach,
It's
yeah.
closer
a
to-
nicer beach. It's not Galveston.
I don't know if it's nicer beach, but
Okay,
it's-
maybe not.
We'll find out
You know
when we
what
get
though? I am gonna make a note to remember to bring. I don't know if any of you saw the mom pod, but I am seriously bringing my own toilet paper next time.
Oh.
And I'm so tempted to just like make a note that says women's only. Like, how would anybody know?
I know.
If we
They're
just
not-
stick a
just-
They
couple
may
of
not
those
even
up,
notice. Yeah.
right.
And any of the rule followers would be like, no, we're not allowed to use that one.
Right.
No, I'm
And
pretty
there's
sure-
a lot of non-rule followers,
Yeah,
so I might be the only one.
She's
Yeah.
gonna been patrolling the bathroom. That's a woman's
It's
bathroom.
just so gross. It's really
Yeah.
gross.
It's a
So,
porta
yeah.
potty.
anyways, we're excited about the next NXL event. We also have a lot of regional tournaments
Yes.
kicking off. I know next weekend our children will be playing here at Paintball Fit in the
USXBL.
USXBL. And
So we'll have a mom pod coming up.
yeah, so
Yep.
keep an eye out for the Mom Pod, and our kids are going to play Division 4.
Yep.
Just one of 2 tournaments this year that they're going to kind of let them get their toes wet in that and see how that goes. So we'll definitely do some Mom Pod footage
Yep.
of that, and then we'll be back the week after to kind of talk about that with you and whatever else is going on in the paintball world.
Send us comments, like and subscribe, and yeah,
Tell us what you want to
yeah.
us to talk about.
Yeah.
Any kind of issues or topics, anything like that.
Yeah. And we'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye.